John Lynch at GM coach meetings talking quarterbacks, John. He was asked about Brock Purdy, and he said this. Actually, I'm going to read you what he said two different ways. Here's the first way. This is the way everybody's hearing it. Brock has earned the right with the way he played that he's the leader of the clubhouse with that. I know when we talk about Brock, he's earned the right to be that guy. When we line up, he'll take the first snap. Now, let me change. I took out 6 words. Let me put those 6 words in and now read it to you. I think Brock has earned the right with the way he's played that he's probably the leader of the clubhouse with that. I know when we talk, I think Brock's probably earned the right to be the guy. If we were to line up, he'd probably take that first snap.
You're saying he says, I think, and probably a lot.
He says, think, probably, if, think, probably, probably. So which version is the one that's really the one in John Lynch's head? The if, think, probably one, or the one with no qualifiers?
Well, I do think the if, think, probably, because the guy is injured. And there was a viral picture this week of him that looks like Barry Bonds meets Gronkowski with the elbow brace. I think if he was 100% healthy and the 49ers had just lost the NFC Championship game and he had played good, bad, or indifferent, I don't think the game would have impacted anything. I think he would easily take out the I think, probably, if. But because the guy is injured and they don't truly know, because this is going to be on a little while, and it's not till 12 weeks, so, we're probably not even finished with week 2 here. So we got a ways to go for him even to attempt to start throwing. And then we know with injuries, right, whether it's an ACL or a shoulder, you slowly work in, and then, do you get sore? Do you get inflammation? Do you get a setback? So I do think it's fair that there are a lot of questions, because 100% healthy, if he's healthy, he's the starter. Has that not been fact all offseason? I guess these guys hadn't really been asked about it because they haven't had a talk, but
yeah, if the 49ers had just lost to the Eagles last year with a health, or this year with a healthy Brock Purdy, they just lost the game. Sometimes you lose the game. They lost the game. Brock finished the game. They lost 28-21.
They'd won 12 straight, so people get not used to losing.
No, and if he'd played, maybe they'd won. But let's just say they lost. This would not be a conversation right now. But it wasn't going to be a conversation that Trey Lance was going to be the starter until Jimmy got hurt. It wasn't going to be a conversation that Jimmy was going to be back and be the starter until Trey got hurt. It wasn't going to be this conversation about Brock being the starter until Jimmy got hurt. So one thing I think that creates the thing that creates the question and the conversation is that we, if you follow this team, have seen so many times the guy that was going to be the starter without a challenge not be the starter because he got hurt. Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. We've seen it so many times. The second you get hurt, what the world was going to be before you got hurt is not what the world is anymore, right? So, yeah, the if is if he's healthy. I agree with you. There would not be a conversation if he had not gotten hurt, but he did get hurt.
Where I do think it could get complicated, where he does not have, I would say, the true equity yet. If they made it to the season and he was not ready and had to miss several games and they were rolling with, we'll get into a little later, with who knows who, because they don't even know who the backup is. But he is not, I would say, established starter level guy that can overcome circumstances out of his control on the bench if things are going well, right?
Yes, I agree with that. Yep.
Like he doesn't just automatically, a team is, let's just say he missed the month of September. He's training camp on the side, and then they have to go into week 1, and they're like, let's just kind of ease him in. He's not ready to go. And they're 4-0. And Trey Darnold is just humming. There's no guarantee that way. But if it comes week 1, the other thing that is just the unknown, and he was asked about this, he does not know, because we don't know how healthy this guy's going to be even in the offseason. But, the question marks of, is he able to come back, August 1st and be full go? Is it one of those where he's not able to do anything up until week 1 and then they can start moving him into practice? I just think there are so many variables with this specific situation / injury that, in fairness to John, and if If Kyle can pay his way out of this, he will not speak at the owners' meetings. It's at the Biltmore, right? So I think they are just going to kind of play this if probably game. But I think it's clear, if healthy, it's not debatable. He's the starting quarterback.
Yeah, but he's got to recover from the injury and then, get back on the field. There's kind of the double.
My take with John Lynch, I see the comment about fiddling with the coffee.
Yeah.
If you watch the video, what I think he's trying to do is he doesn't like the flow out of the thing. He's trying to open it, but as you can see, he's got a nice shirt on, and it's one of those where
You're saying he wants to take the top completely off of his covered coffee cup.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of maybe there's like a side that's kind of looped in. It's like I could go hard and then it spills all over me. It's a disaster. I can't do both things while I'm answering these questions. So he's trying to do it subtly, but it's, sometimes when it kind of hooks in and you kind of got to push it away from you and go hard.
Yeah.
Because I think he consistently gets videos of fiddling around when getting asked very serious questions about
opening water bottles that are already opened.
A lot of scratches, a lot of stretches.
Arm crossing. This was another good, if you wanted to do body language, Dr. John Lynch video. And I think the only place to watch the full video is Lombardi is the one that posted it. That's where I watched it. But there's a lot. The coffee, he is constantly messing with the coffee lid. Constantly.
If I want to defend John Lynch, you and I have talked to him side of the field before, interviewed him a while back. If you just have a normal conversation with him, he is as normal of a guy ever. I think he's very, very uncomfortable with having to lie. You've even mentioned it in the press conference today. Kyle gives me a hard time. I'm an internal optimist. He's a positive guy. So you're asking him specific questions. Some of them are going to be negative, right? And I think it's an uncomfortable spot he feels for this quarterback situation specifically. Like there is ultimately a winner and a loser, even though if that's not the fair way to look at it, there's only one guy can play. So when he's asked about this, I think he's sensitive to the way it comes out, even though it's pretty clear to anyone with a fucking brain that watched this team that Brock Purdy's the best quarterback they've had in 6 years. Short sample size, but still. And it's a weird spot for him. Because I think football guys, if you get him in a room full of other football guys, non-media, I think he'd be pretty comfortable telling you exactly how he feels.
I'll also defend John Lynch by saying this. He's not a career front office climber. He's a guy that played sports. The good player started. The less good player backed up. The less good player was the third stringer. Then he was a broadcaster. I think he just wants to say what's on his mind, but this is not the job that, some people might have climbed and honed their skills at part of the reason they got the job was the way they handle the media. Part of the reason they got the job was the way they handled the owner. Part of the reason they got the job was the way they handled the coach, and they know how to kind of be this different guy, which is part of the job. I think if we asked him what's your least favorite part of the job, he wouldn't say talking to the media necessarily. I think he would say specifically the part about talking to the media that requires me to not tell the truth, as Will Smith once said.
Because I think the Niners, one of his greatest strengths to them is their head coach, who actually is good about talking with this stuff, despises it. It's the last thing he wants to do. John is very comfortable being the front man, alpha, and you could even say now, he is not worried about, a lot of these topics would be sensitive for GM head coach. Like a GM doesn't want to say something that might make his head coach unhappy or put them in a weird situation. They're completely on the same page. John's not worried about saying something that Kyle, he's not, none of that. He's more worried about how it affects, I think, the people, like Trey, Brock, his locker room.
Yes. He doesn't want to say something that he'll regret, that he would feel bad about, that he wouldn't have said to somebody's face. But he's constantly, somebody at one point they asked him, I don't remember what it was. You might remember. They're like, what do you mean when you said this? And he goes, I don't know what that means. He said that today, right? I'm just trying to get through this thing without, contradicting myself. I think that's part of it. You're trying to get through it without contradicting yourself. Also,
very unique event when you think about it. Most of the time when these guys talk in the NFL, it's at a podium way above and kind of far away from the sitting Big J's. This situation, little table, inside conference room, everyone is within arm's length, all have orange juice and coffee in their hands. So it's, in theory, very relaxed, right? Everyone's just kind of BSing. They all know each other. John knows them all by first name. Yet once it starts officially, you're getting asked right before we hopped on, I see NFL Network tweets out rap sheet talking about this specific thing. Brock Purdy, of course he's the starter. It's immediately this headline, Purdy, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, 49ers. I would say, beside Lamar Jackson today, one of the bigger stories in the NFL. Because you could just take it as Brock Purdy is the 49ers starter in 2023, right?
Yeah. Lamar Jackson tweeting that he told the team 20 days ago that he wants a trade.
Yeah.
That's the other story. Just to be clear.
I saw Rap Sheet was like, when they non-exclusive tag you, you can negotiate trades. Like, this is not, you don't need to ask for a trade. That they literally, it's been on the table. Like, the whole league knows, you're available.
And by the way, here's the compensation.
Yeah, it's already set.
You can do less than 2 first. The one thing I read, there was a good PFF article. It's not just 2 first. You can only trade another team's first if that pick is worth more now than it was when you got it. So like the Saints can't trade the Niners firsts to get Lamar Jackson because it's pick 29 now. And when the Niners sent it to them, it was whatever, pick 12, whatever it was. Does that make sense?
So you're saying that the 49ers 3 first-rounders for Trey Lance are all based on the 12th pick? That's set in stone? Like that?
Yeah, the one the Saints. Yeah, exactly.
So like the Eagles Saints pick this year is better this year at 10 than it was last year at like 17, but it's based on the value of 17.
That is, you can trade that for Lamar Jackson.
So you can only trade it if it improves?
Yeah. You can't trade pick 29 if you're the Saints for Lamar.
That's got to be a bylaw that not every person in the NFL would know, right?
You think?
Well, it's not very often you see, a massive non-exclusive franchise trade.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being naive. You'd be hard set to not
know
that rule.
I guess one way around it would be waiting until after the draft, and then the 2 ones are 24 and 25.
Yeah.
But if you're trading Lamar, if you're the Ravens, like you'd probably want that one this year. I don't know. It depends what you've got a quarterback. Maybe you don't. But you don't, you want the one before the guy Lamar ends up on the team.
True.
Probably. If you think he's good.
Again, that 12th pick and the 2 others for a quarterback that's not the starter.
Not the starter. Before we get to Trey, though, one other thing on John Lynch's body language with Brock. I think part of it, he said, like, we were in Cabo when we got the call from Dr. Moriarty or what's his name? Whatever the doctor's name is.
Yeah.
That
guy.
Surgery went good. Part of it is John is telling people, yes, our starting quarterback is the hurt guy right now. The guy with the Barry Bonds bionic elbow, that's our starting quarterback, right? Which is not the most comfortable place for a team to be. Their starting quarterback is at a, wearing that, whatever that thing is.
Saw a doctor tweet out, very normal protocol. You can't do the surgery and have elbow flopping around, right?
I'm just saying there are more comfortable positions to be in with your starting quarterback, which is he's healthy.
It's a strong visual, though, wouldn't you say? That visual is.
Do you recognize the place? Do you know do you recognize the spot?
Never seen it.
Like a brewery of some sort.
High school buddy, maybe, or just
no, it's fan? A fan. This is Sean McIntyre. Who I saw when I clicked his name. I think it's Sean. I don't know who's. I think it's Sean McIntyre. That's who the photo credit is. So,
Rochester
at a distillery somewhere,
having a few pops, trying to get out of the house. Keep his spirits up.
I want to see Brock's. Can he get the distillery glass to the lips with his right arm, or is he using his left arm?
I mean, if he's his right hander, he's got to throw a lot of things off kilter there.
Luckily, people can do things for him now, John.
That's true. That's true.